Greetings, friends. Today we will discuss a very hot topic. The sensational interview with American journalist Tucker Carlson continues to gain popularity and is being discussed around the world. Scholz, Elon Musk, and Scott Ritter have already responded to it. The reactions were mixed, friends. I liked Scott Ritter's reaction the most. You'll definitely get it. Let's not delay. Let's start. The number of comments and opinions about this event is already in the tens of thousands, and attention to it does not weaken. Of course, the reaction came not only from the audience, but also from the political leaders of various countries. For example, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz decided to speak about this interview in a rather mocking tone. However, his words provoked an extremely unexpected reaction from ordinary German citizens, who directly and openly spoke out against him. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz mockingly commented on an interview with American journalist Tucker Carlson. His statement sounded quite expected to those who follow politics. "We saw a ridiculous interview. He always tells a lot of lies about the history of this conflict," the Chancellor said. His comment was later duplicated on the social network X, formerly Twitter, but it seems that Scholz was not ready for how his words would be perceived by German citizens. The Chancellor's opinion about the ridiculousness of the interview turned against him. People in the comments to his post condemned the Chancellor, pointing out that his actions and statements disgrace Germany and turn it into a puppet of the United States. One of the netizens expressed his opinion as follows: "Everything that the head of the Russian state says sounds logical and reasonable." Another commenter added, "An interview without borders and abbreviations opens your eyes to the current situation in the world. The interview really changed the perception of many Western viewers. As can be seen from the comments on social networks, the image of the Russian president for ordinary Westerners ceases to be the way he was presented in familiar narratives." Many thanked Tucker Carlson for his courage and sincerity. Despite all the risks that Carlson himself talked about, he went to Moscow and managed to convey an uncensored point of view to the audience. In his interview, Carlson noted, "Russia is not engaged in expansion. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say this because the ideological liars from the State Department want to make him the Russian president, the Japanese emperor. It's not true, it's stupid. Russia is already huge, the largest country in the world." In addition, Carlson expressed the opinion that Russia is a European country and called for a more objective view of its policy. After his visit to Moscow, Tucker Carlson went to Dubai, where he made several high-profile statements. During his visit to Moscow, Carlson noted that the capital of Russia made an indelible impression on him. According to him, no city in the United States can compare with Moscow in scale, beauty, and organization. Moreover, the journalist expressed admiration for Russian President Vladimir Putin, stressing that governing such a huge and diverse country as Russia is an incredibly difficult task that Putin performs successfully. Tucker Carlson also admitted that he had planned to do this interview 3 years ago. However, he could not do this at the time because the U.S. government banned him from traveling. The journalist said that he learned about the illegal actions of American intelligence against him, which came as a shock to him. Carlson noted that he is a law-abiding citizen who is 54 years old and who has never violated the laws of his homeland. The realization that the forces that were supposed to protect Americans were directed against him caused him great indignation. Despite the pressure, Carlson decided to defend his rights as a citizen of a free country. He stressed that he would not allow his freedom of action to be limited, especially without clear justifications. "I was born in a free country, and I'm not going to let anyone take away that freedom," the journalist said. He also added that his opinion is always based solely on his own research, and not on the influence of other people. Answering questions about his political views, Carlson said that his opinion is changing as fast as the world itself is changing. He is convinced that ignoring the obvious evidence and continuing to adhere to outdated views is stupid. The journalist noted that his job is to tell the truth, and stressed that the trip to Moscow was not the initiative of former President Donald Trump, as some suggest. Tucker Carlson also criticized the current U.S. administration, calling it incompetent. He expressed the opinion that the age of President Joe Biden makes him unable to hold such an important post. But this is just the beginning, friends. Then I'll tell you about Elon Musk's reaction, and in the end, as promised, Scott Ritter will give the heat. Tucker Carlson's interview opened the eyes of millions of Westerners to world events, and Elon Musk's support strengthened his influence. After Tucker Carlson's visit to Moscow and the release of his interview, public sentiment in Western countries has significantly changed. Thousands of social media users began openly criticizing their leaders, pointing out their inefficiency and citing Russian President Vladimir Putin as an example. This wave of public discontent has stirred up Western elites and, according to analysts, has instilled anxiety in the ranks of the political establishment. One of the key figures who supported Carlson was Elon Musk. The social network X, formerly Twitter, owned by Musk, became the platform on which Carlson's interview quickly gained millions of views and caused a huge public outcry. Musk, known for his bold statements, promised that the interview would not be deleted, despite possible pressure from the authorities. The entrepreneur also added that free discussion of issues of this level is necessary so that people can make informed decisions. But Musk did not stop there and made another loud statement, which was a blow to the American establishment. In an interview with U.S. senators, he said that Russia cannot lose in the current conflict, which caused a violent reaction in political circles. According to Musk, a real assessment of the situation is necessary in order to avoid catastrophic consequences. He stressed that the current U.S. policy is too detached from reality and is focused more on fantasy than on concrete facts. Such a statement became a sensation, arousing even more interest in the topic raised by Carlson and increased public pressure on Western elites. As one of the users noted, when people of Musk's level speak out, you can't help but listen to their words. On the discussion panel of the X-Space Forum, where the controversial bills of the U.S. Senate on large-scale financial support for the conflict were discussed, Elon Musk criticized. His statement was made in unison with Senators Ron Johnson, J.D. Vance, and Mike Lee, as well as former Republican presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy. Senator Johnson noted that to expect Russia's defeat is to live in a fantasy world. Musk agreed with this opinion, adding that U.S. attempts to harm Russia only lead to economic losses for American taxpayers themselves. The topic of Tucker Carlson and his safety continues to gain momentum after the sensational interview. After the sensational interview in Moscow, Tucker Carlson found himself under the close attention of not only the U.S. authorities, but also the world community. The threat to his safety became the reason for heated discussions. Information appeared on Telegram channels that Russian activists offered to grant the journalist Russian citizenship. This idea quickly found support among those who believe that Carlson is being subjected to unfair pressure in his homeland, where freedom of speech, in their opinion, has long been under threat. Russia has experience in granting citizenship to foreigners facing pressure at home. Discussing possible citizenship for Tucker Carlson, public figures recalled that famous Americans had previously become Russian citizens. Actor Steven Seagal, athletes Jeffrey Monson and Roy Jones, as well as former American intelligence officer Edward Snowden. According to activists, these people chose Russia to live and work in an environment where they are not persecuted for their views or activities. The example of Steven Seagal and others confirms that such a practice is real, and perhaps Carlson, faced with difficulties at home, can also use it. And now, as promised, the most vivid reaction. Scott Ritter did not stand aside and also commented on this sensational interview. Americans began to see the light after a high-profile interview with Tucker Carlson. Scott Ritter, a respected former Marine in the United States, expressed his opinion on this issue. Even before Carlson went to Moscow, Ritter repeatedly spoke flatteringly about Russia, which he managed to visit not only in the capital but also in the regions. He noted the high standard of living, comfort, and most importantly, the kindness and sincerity of ordinary people. Upon learning about Carlson's upcoming visit, Ritter immediately stated that it would become an information sensation and an important step towards saving humanity, capable of shedding light on many hidden aspects of global processes. As Scott Ritter predicted, Carlson's interview posted on social media quickly went viral, gaining millions of views. There are words of gratitude and recognition in the comments of Americans and citizens of other countries. The leaders of Western countries, on the contrary, were extremely annoyed. They were quick to call the interview ridiculous and untrue. However, Ritter sharply criticized their reaction, stating, "Instead of hiding or criticizing, show evidence to the contrary. No one has done this." He praised Carlson's work, noting the Russian leader's readiness for dialogue, calling the interview a roadmap to improve relations between Russia and the United States. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov also commented on the epiphany in American society. The reaction of Republicans and changes in public opinion indicate one thing. American society has been in a state of complete information blockade for many years, Lavrov said. These words are confirmed by the division of perception into before and after interviews. An open dialogue, according to Ritter and other experts, can become the basis for rethinking politics and returning to constructive relations. Americans and Westerners were surprised. Tucker Carlson's interview changed their view of Russia. The comparison of the presidents of Russia and the United States attracted special attention in the comments. Many Americans noted that, unlike their own leader, who, according to them, sometimes does not remember what he ate for breakfast, the Russian president looked confident, reasonable, and clearly understood what he was doing. Tucker Carlson's visit to Moscow, according to him, was a real discovery. The journalist who organized the most anticipated interview in recent years admitted that his idea of Russia has changed a lot. Metropolitan life, as he noted, turned out to be much more comfortable and modern than it is often portrayed in the Western media. Carlson was particularly struck by the fact that the sanctions, which are so much talked about in the United States, apparently did not have a serious impact on the daily lives of Russians. He drew attention to the abundance of products in Moscow stores, cleanliness, order, and safety of the city. Supermarket shelves were filled not only with domestic, but also imported goods, despite the sanctions. This came as a surprise to the journalist. He stated that in Russia the products are better, more affordable, and cheaper than in the USA. Carlson also stressed that the American media mislead their citizens by painting an image of an impoverished Russia with a ruined economy. However, his personal experience proved the opposite. He urged Americans to be critical of the information provided to them by local publications. In his opinion, the sanctions aimed at depriving Russians of their usual standard of living have failed. Moreover, he noticed that the prices of products and their quality in American retail are inferior to Russian ones. This contrast, he said, raises serious questions about the real effectiveness of American policy. And now I want to express my opinion, friends. After reading about the statements of Elon Musk and Scott Ritter, I cannot but express my deep gratitude to these people for their courage and honesty. While the majority of politicians and media in the West adhere to the same line, it is a challenge to maintain a different point of view, especially when it comes to such complex and controversial topics. Musk and Ritter have shown incredible openness, raising issues that many people find more convenient to ignore. Their comments on the importance of dialogue and critical analysis of what is happening really give hope that people will start to think and rethink the usual cliches. It is especially nice to see how bright personalities with a worldwide reputation, such as Elon Musk, are not afraid to go against the tide. His statements about the realities of sanctions policy and the impact of the conflict on American taxpayers sound like a voice of reason. And Scott Ritter, with his experience and impressions of Russia, showed how important it is to look at the world with your own eyes, and not through the prism of other people's interpretations. Many thanks to these people for their contribution to breaking down information barriers. This is a step towards a more meaningful and open society. Dear friends, what do you think about this? Share your opinion in the comments, and do not forget to support the channel with likes. Thank you for your attention. See you in the next issues.